I've been reading all of your stuff about Jeffrey Epstein, which is, of course, what you've been spending a lot of time talking about lately, and we're going to talk about tonight. 2005, I guess, is that the year that some girls started coming forward and talking to the police in Florida?
Right,
in
Palm Beach.
Tell me what happened. Who were the first girls who were brave enough to do that, and how were there? We have a culture now where there's a lot of issues about people not being believed, which discourages victims from coming forward. What were their claims, and how were those claims treated by the police when they came forward?
The local Palm Beach police took the case very seriously. They actually did a masterful investigation of this case because, once they found one girl, that one girl said, these two girls brought me. They go to the other two girls, and the two girls said, well, this girl took me. So they had a 200-page investigation, and you could see the threads on how all these girls. Now, they didn't all know each other because the first girl didn't end up knowing all the other girls in the pyramid. But they all told the same story, about how they were recruited, how they're led into the back door in the kitchen. They go up the stairs to his combination bedroom, bathroom, and just the same thing. If they were there hired to give him a massage, and maybe they were going to have to undress in some form, and that they would be paid to give him a massage. They had, by the end of their investigation, at least a dozen, close to 24 girls who all were telling the same story. So they went about getting all kinds of corroborating evidence. They were picking through his trash. They were it's like out of a movie. When they picked up his trash, then they would take it somewhere and offload it. And they found all these messages in there where it said something like, Melissa is going to come after soccer practice. Courtney will be there at 2. She's going to bring her friend Allison. Messages after messages. They got the phone records. The phone records showed that there were calls made back and forth between the girls and the recruiters. They conducted a pretty thorough investigation.
You got involved in this story in 2017, is that right? Is that when you started investigating it? This is really essentially at this point a cold case because everything's been sealed. He's been free and up to his usual stuff. And what brought it to your attention, and how did you crack this case?
After he pleaded guilty, there was a couple of victims who had filed a lawsuit against the federal government claiming that by doing this deal in the way they did, they violated the Federal Crime Victims' Rights Act, which gives victims certain rights, like you're allowed to appear at the hearing where the criminal who's charged with your crimes is going to be sentenced. You're allowed to find out from the prosecutors exactly the status of your case. When there's a plea deal, you should be told about it. None of this happened in this case. So they filed a lawsuit in 2008, and here it was 2017, and that lawsuit was still sitting there. The judge hadn't made a decision, and I thought, why is it taking these girls, women now in their late 20s, 10 years to litigate this case? It just seemed crazy to me, and I thought I need to take a look at this and find out why. And one of the things that happened simultaneous to that was that Acosta was nominated by Trump to be his labor secretary.
Right.
And I thought, this is going to be interesting. I hope they ask him about this little thing, And it was like a footnote to the hearings, and he got confirmed. And this man who basically allowed Epstein to practically walk free is now in charge of a huge agency with oversight over human trafficking and child labor laws. Right. So my initial goal was really to just try to find the women and try to do a react story. And I had no idea at the time that it was going to lead to such a big investigation. I didn't realize it at the time that it would take me so long to find the women because...
Yeah, how did you do that? How did you track them down?
Well, all their names weren't in the record because they were all minors. So they were all Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2, all the way up to Jane Doe 143.
Oh, my God.
So I had to really just do a lot of digging. And inevitably, you find where they forget to redact a name, or there's part of a name and then a birth date. So it was like this big puzzle. Yeah. I found the names of 60 women, and I tracked them all pretty much all of them down. And then in doing that, then that's when it really veered away from a React story, because just by tracking them down, I found out where their lives had led them. And a lot of them did not fare well in the years that followed. A lot of them fell into drug addiction, abusive relationships. Some of them had passed away. So by that time, Epstein's out. He's flying his jet all over Europe. I thought, here's this man that's back to his jet-setting life, and these women are all still suffering.
Right.
In my mind, no matter how many stories that had been written up until that time, I felt that none of them had really explained what had happened to these women and why it had happened. I sent letters to almost all of them, and I managed to get 4 of them to agree to talk to us on the record and on camera. One of the beauties really about the project was that I told them they didn't have to talk about the abuse at all, because really, to me, the story was the breakdown of the criminal justice system and what had happened to them. So I said, you don't really have to talk about that at all. I said, I want to know how this happened and why it happened and what you want to say about this. And it was sort of a watershed moment for them, because they felt that no one had ever asked them about that before, that everybody was so concerned and so involved in this salacious nature of the story, and the sex part of the story, and the celebrity that was part of the story, and the political angle that was part of the story, that nobody had really taken the time to understand exactly what this had done to their lives, and even today, and how much that they still suffer as a result of what happened. Because they weren't just molested, they were betrayed by the very people in government that were supposed to protect them and bring them justice.
So the 3-part piece you wrote for the Miami Herald, which is called Perversion of Justice, and it's online. I urge everybody to read it if you haven't read it already. It's an amazing piece of reporting and writing, and that really led to a sort of cascading series of events after that, because he was charged. And was that a tremendously vindicating moment for you as a journalist, to see that actually this had been taken seriously by somebody?
I mean, I was in shock. Emily and I still look at each other sometimes. We're coming to New York for all these hearings, and first he's arrested, and we're sitting there waiting to hear the charges, and then the media said to Jeffrey Berman, the prosecutor, well, why now? Why'd you arrest him now? And he looks just at me, and he goes, we were assisted by some amazing investigative reporting.
Thank you, Julie Payback.
Thanks.